Hey Book Dragons, I am so glad that you've joined me today. We are talking about my top 10 favorite book series of all time currently. So this list is subject to change in the future, but as of right now, this is my top 10 list of my favorite book series. So we're going to get right to this because I've got several to talk about here. Going to get my eyes on. Now, I do have some honorable mentions, but before we get to the honorable mentions, I am going to give you a caveat here. You will notice as I go down this list that there is something noticeably absent from the list, and that is Lord of the Rings. The reason Lord of the Rings is not on this list is because I don't consider it a series. I consider it one book. So, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, Return of the King is one of my favorite books of all time. But it is not a series in my opinion, and so I don't treat it as a series, okay? So if you watch my video on my top 10 books of all time currently, you will see Lord of the Rings on that list somewhere. And you can see the screenshot of the thumbnail that you can find on my channel. If you want to watch that, that'd be great. I'll have it in the cards at the end as well. And with that, let's get to our honorable mentions, okay? And I'm going to get out my handy dandy little list. That way I don't forget anything. The first honorable mention on this list is the Hyperion Cantos. Now guys, Hyperion and Fall of Hyperion I also treat as one book, and they are my second favorite sci-fi book of all time. The Hyperion Cantos I have not completed yet. I have not finished reading Rise of Endymion, and so therefore I couldn't put it on this list, although I have a good feeling that the entire Cantos will end up on this list at some point, but I don't know that, okay? So, there we go. Another honorable mention is Dune. You may be really flabbergasted to not see Dune on here because Dune is my number one favorite sci-fi book of all time. But I DNF'd the series. After Dune Messiah, which I really enjoyed as well, I did not enjoy the rest of the books that I read, and so I am not going to continue that series. So that does not show up on here. Another one that you will notice is absent is Empire of the Vampire. Why is it not on here, you might ask? The series is not complete yet. The last book comes out in November, and I would love to put it on this list, but as of right now, I haven't finished the trilogy. And they kind of all run together, and there's cliffhangers between books and stuff, so it's all one story, and I don't want to impulsively add it to this list without having finished the trilogy. So that will be happening soon, once I get my book in November. And the other series I should talk about, and I did not get the book down and put it on my desk. But anyway, Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. I have not finished it yet. I have read the first 4 book series in Realm of the Elderlings, and I love them. I love Robin Hobb's writing. She is easily one of my favorite authors. We'll talk about favorite authors another time. That's coming. I have not finished the series, and so like with Empire of the Vampire, until I've read the rest of the books, I don't want to impulsively say it's on my top 10 list because I just don't know. It depends on how the series finishes, right? Right. Okay. So, we are going to move into my top 10 now, all right? The first series on this list is a duology. And that, guys, coming in at number 10 is Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I personally refer to this as the Dreamer and Muse duology. I think she calls it the Strange the Dreamer duology, which is fine, Dreamer and Muse rolls off the tongue better, I think, so that's why I call it that. But that's just me personally. It's okay. Maybe the author will start calling it that if, if she watches one of my videos and stuff. I don't know. But I love Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. One of the best stories I have read. I just keep thinking back to it, thinking how much I love it, how whimsical it is, how unique it is, and how otherworldly it feels. And it's just a perfect escape. And so this comes in at number 10, and we're going to move on to The Expanse by James S.A. Corey. This is, of course, a sci-fi series, and technically, I have not finished the series. Okay, now hold on. You're going to say, Chaz, you should have made it an honorable mention then. But wait, here's the kicker. I have read the first 6 books, and I'm working on book 7 right now, but I read the first 6 books, and there is a 30-year time jump between books 6 and 7. So technically, books 1 through 6 is a complete arc. Don't judge me here. I have my reasonings that work in my head. This is how my head canon works. So I'm still putting it on my top 10 list of series because I love it that much. And the first arc is complete, even though there's 3 other books, right? So we're going with that. But I absolutely love it. And it's one of those unique series where the adaptation of the series is just as good. The adaptation followed the story pretty much to a T with a few changes. You get changes in adaptations. But on the whole, every season of The Expanse was a banger, and I loved it, and it helped me put the characters into my mind. I didn't start reading the series until after I'd seen the first 5 seasons of the show, so really, really good. And you'll hear people say it's like Game of Thrones in space. It really is. It's just that detailed on character development, and you just fall in love with the characters as you follow them over time. It's really great. Okay, so moving on to number 8, and that is the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. This follows a young woman named Lisbeth Salander, and it's a series set in Sweden. The author is Swedish. It was originally written in Swedish and then translated, and it is such a great story. Lisbeth's character is just fascinating to learn about and to follow her exploits as she just discovers all the intricacies of her life and the people she thought she knew, and interwoven with it is murders and mysteries, and it's just such a great story. And Lisbeth is such a unique character. She is very hard to describe, but she is definitely an anarchist. She plays by her own rules. She doesn't care what people think, and she has just a brilliant mind, and it is fascinating to read this series. I highly recommend it. And if you have read the series and you have not watched the original adaptations, they are fantastic. The ones done in Swedish with English subtitles, they're just amazing, and I highly recommend those as well. So, moving on to number 7, and that would be the Robert Langdon series by Dan Brown. And these can all be read as standalones, technically. So you could say it's not a series, but you're following the same character. Robert Langdon is a professor of symbology and ancient histories, and these are international thrillers that just take you all over the globe to various sites, and you learn about different art pieces and different cultural centers, and you learn about the people that live in the different countries and all these rare and mysterious artifacts are popping up left and right. It is so much fun. And Dan Brown really likes to teach through his writing. So you're having fun in this fictional version of our world, but yet you're learning about all these different historical sites and art pieces, and it's so much fun. So the Da Vinci Code is probably his most well-known book, even though Angels and Demons was the first book in the Robert Langdon series. This is his most well-known. That's why I took it down and put it on this video. But it's fantastic, and I absolutely love it. Dan Brown is a fantastic storyteller, writer, and so good, so good. All right, so number 6 is the Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Arden. This follows a young girl named Vasya. It is set in early Rus before it became Russia, and Vasya is a wild, unhinged nature spirit in the body of a girl. And she communes with nature, and she's in touch with the different spirits of ancient Russian folklore and mysticism, and she's trying to live her life in a world that is being beset by Christian doctrine. And so the church is trying to infiltrate the pagan atrocities in Russia, and it's just such a wonderful story to see her grow in her witchy ways and all the fascinating magical characters that she encounters. It's just a wonderful story. I loved all 3 books in the trilogy, and you've got a lot of Russian folklore that you are learning about along the way, and it's really a wonderful story and a fascinating journey into that ancient world. And I would call it a historical fantasy because it really is steeped in the histories of that country and culture. So really, really good. So that was number 6. We are going to move on now to number 5. And that, guys, would be the Earthsea Saga by Ursula K. Le Guin. I absolutely loved every single book in this volume. All 6 books of the Earthsea cycle, plus some of the short stories that are included as well, like The Daughter of Odrin. It's just a wonderful world that you're dropped into. Our main character is Ged, also known as Sparrowhawk, and he is a young man at the beginning of it on a journey to become a wizard and to learn the ways of magic. And it's different from other fantasies that I've read because it's set among islands and archipelagos, and there's water all around, and some of the story takes place as you're sailing back and forth with Ged in boats to different islands and exploring the farthest reaches of the world that are as yet unknown, and you're encountering dragons and magic and elemental magic. It's just such a wonderful story, steeped in philosophy and deep thought out themes. I was just blown away with every single book that I read in here. So I highly recommend the Earthsea Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin. And too bad she's not with us anymore and can't tell us new stories, because this blew me away and I want to read more of what she's written. She's got a large catalog that I plan on reading, but Earthsea is number 5 on my top 10 series list. Alright, guys, so we are moving on to the Shannara series, coming in at number 4. And you may be shocked, Chaz, why is Shannara so low? There's just others that I enjoy more, but the Shannara series is on this list. Now, this is another one where I've not completed the series. However, each trilogy in this series is a complete story in and of itself. You don't need to read anything else if you don't want to. Realm of the Elderlings is not so much that way. You really do want to read everything, but with Shannara you don't necessarily have to. Each trilogy is a complete story, and I have read enough of Shannara to know that I will absolutely finish the series and to rank it in my top 10 series of all time. But it does come in at number 4, and it's just such a wonderful world to be dropped into. Shannara takes place in the 4 realms, and there are elements from a bygone era that are very reminiscent of Earth as we know it in our modern day, but there has been a technological upheaval, and technology has kind of gone by the wayside, and magic has come back into the world and made a resurgence. So it's very much a post-apocalyptic story in a way, but it is wholeheartedly a fantasy epic, and I absolutely love everything I've read so far, and I will be finishing the series at some point. So Shannara comes in at number 4. Number 3 is The Deathgate Cycle by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. You are probably more familiar with them from the first 6 books in the Dragonlance Chronicles, and so you are following classic fantasy characters in D&D style. But with the Deathgate Cycle, it's something different. You still have that old classic fantasy feel, but it's a whole new world that is being explored. This world has been split or sundered into 4 different realms: fire, air, earth, and water. And you are following Haplo as he travels through the Death Gate to visit each of these worlds, to conquer them for his master. And little does he know what he is going to find and discover about his master and about the fate of his people, the Patrons, and the fate of a sister race called the Sartan. And it's just such a fascinating story. There is so much lore to be explored and learned as you're reading through the series, and every book just keeps building on top of the others, and it is a powerhouse of a read. And so I highly recommend the Deathgate Cycle to anyone who loves classic fantasy. And if you are familiar with D&D and you like the Dragonlance Chronicles, you will feel right at home. There's still a lot of that familiarity there. And I have not read Dragonlance yet, but I feel that the writing style, the prose, the storytelling, the lore is just in top tier in this series. So really a lot of fun. We're moving on to my top 2 series of all time. Pause the video for a minute and comment below if you can guess my top 2. I would love to know if anybody has been watching my channel enough to really have their finger on the pulse of what Chaz likes as his top 2 fantasy series, okay? Pause it here. Okay, if you're back, here we go. My number 2 fantasy series of all time is The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I have read all 17 books of The Dresden Files so far, 19 if you count the 2 short story volumes, plus a bunch of other little quick stories that I read in the world as well. So I'm kind of working on reading all the little side stories and everything, but all the core stuff I have read. So that comprises 19 books right there if you add the short story collections. And then we've got what is technically book 18 coming out in January, and that's 12 months. I've got my pre-order in. I can't wait. I'm so excited to have that in my hot little hands. But The Dresden Files is my second favorite series of all time right now. It really is. It is just that good. You're following Harry Blackstone, Copperfield, Dresden. He's a wizard in modern-day Chicago who solves crime. So he's a private detective, who just happens to be a sorcerer, wizard as well. And all the things that he gets into as he goes about his days and months even, and all the troubles he gets into as the magical world is just attacking him left and right, and he's beset by werewolves and vampires and other non-worldly beings, and he's just trying to have a better day and make some money so that he can keep his Blue Beetle running. And Harry is just a fantastic character. And people who have read the first few books in the series do complain because of his roving eye and, some of the ways that he treats women early on in the series. But stay with the series because he really goes on a journey of growth, and his character grows exponentially as the series goes on. And you do start out in the series on a kind of monster of the week kick, but then as the series goes on, it becomes this overarching continuing story with deep world building, deep character development, and just really exciting banger magical battles. I just had such a blast reading this series, and I can't wait to read more. January can't come fast enough, but I can't do anything about that, so Dresden Files is my second favorite of all time. So that leaves you asking, Chaz, what's your first favorite series of all time? And you may have already guessed that below. And I don't have the book on my desk here because it's right above me. Can you see it? Can you see it? It's right in plain view here. A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin is my absolute favorite book series of all time. Nothing has dethroned it yet. George R.R. Martin is just a master of storytelling and world building and lore. And his series is really strongly anchored in history and politics and human interactions, epic battles, and it's just a wild ride, guys. A Song of Ice and Fire is such an amazing series. I have not found anything to top it. And people will call it a low fantasy series because there's not a ton of magic in it. But I disagree. Even though, yes, there's not a lot of magic in it. But it's fantasy in every way that matters. And it is just fascinating and so much fun. It is incomplete. I don't know when he is going to finish. If he finishes, I hope he does. I think he will. I have faith, George, but if I never get another book in the series, I still love this series so much, and it is my number one fantasy series of all time. So that is it, guys. That's all I have to say. That is my top 10 currently. Let me know in the comments what you think of my list. Let me know some of your favorite book series of all time. If you only want to let me know your top 2 or just your number 1, that's fine. Let me know in the comments. And until next time, guys, make sure you read more books. And if you want to watch more of my content, you can check out the end screen here.